Well, hello there, and welcome back to the table. Today we're going to be talking about another fan favorite in the store, and that is none other than Azul, the multi-award winning pattern builder game that rewards players for abstract thinking and precisely planning placement of tiles. So, what's the story behind Azul? What's the juicy lore? Well, the juicy lore of Azul is that each player at the table is a world-renowned ceramic wall tiler that has been commissioned by the King of Portugal himself to embellish the royal palace walls of Evora. Aren't we moving up in the world today? Now, every player is a master craftsman in their own right, but at the end of the day, there can be only one whose name will go down in history that toiled and tiled the walls of the Palace of Evora in Azul. So, that's the fun little story bit behind it, but the actual goal of the game is to score as many points as possible, which you do as a player by drafting tiles from these little factory plates and placing them in rows to then move them onto the wall in the second phase of the game. So now that I'm getting into the phases, let's just talk about how the game plays. So Azul normally has 3 phases every round. The first phase is the factory offering phase, where all these little factory plates are filled up with 4 tiles each from this little baggie, and the players then draft tiles from the plates to put onto their board. So, case in point, I'm going to go ahead and start drafting some tiles. So I'm going to draft according to a very specific rule that is listed in Azul. Players are only allowed to take tiles of one color from one plate, and they must take all of the colors of that tile. So case in point right here, I've got 2 reds, a white, and a yellow. I can only take the 2 reds, the 1 white, or the 1 yellow. I can't mix it up and take a little bit of both. So for this example, I'm going to take the 2 reds and put them in my little blank space right over here, my little 2 blank row, and I'll put the white and the yellow in the center, which is a communal tile pile that all the players can eventually draft from. And then this player over here is going to take this 1 black tile and put the rest in here. And then this player over here is going to take this 1 yellow and put the rest in the center. Now, the communal tile pile will continuously fill up with the tiles that no one else decided to take until someone bellies up and takes the first player token and puts it in their point penalty section. That will give them 1 less point at the end of the round, but it lets everybody draft from the center of the game board for 1, and 2, it also allows that player to be the first person to draft next round, which can be a huge advantage. So, since I did that, I'm going to go ahead and draft. There's 5 whites right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull these 5 whites and put them at the very bottom of my board in the 5 space. And that's how the whole round of Azul will go. Everyone will keep drafting tiles until all the tiles on the factory plates and in the center of the game board have been taken and placed on someone's board. So we're going to go ahead and get these out of the way real quick just to show that, oh, we've done that already. And after all the tiles have been taken off of the boards, off of the plates in the center and put on boards, the second phase of the round begins, which is just the wall tiling phase. So in the wall tiling phase, any rows that were completely filled up, 1 tile is going to be moved over from the little reservation section on the left of the board, and they will be put onto the corresponding colored space on the right. So in my 2 row, I have 2 red, so I'm going to take the 1 red and I'm going to put it right there. And same goes for my 5 row right here. I got white, so I'm going to take 1 white and put it right there. The rest of the tiles that didn't get moved over are removed from the game. They're just set aside. People generally will put them in the box itself, or they'll just put it to the side of the table for later on. And then the third phase happens, which is preparing for the next round, where the bag is opened up and 4 tiles is going to be put on each plate. And then the round is ready to start all over again. So when the bag runs out, that's not when the game ends. The game ends when a full row of 5 is completed here. If there are no more tiles in the bag, all the tiles that were removed during the wall tiling phase get put back in the bag and shaken up, and you got a whole new replenished stockpile of tiles. So, as I said, the game ends when a full row of 5 has been completed, and that's when everyone moves to scoring. So for scoring, there's 2 ways that points are scored. The first one is just placing tiles down. Every tile will place for 1 point. That being said, if you manage to put tiles down that are surrounded by other tiles, you get more points for both horizontal and vertical adjacency. So case in point, if you have 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you put 1 in the center to make a plus symbol, you're going to get 6 points. You're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So creative ways of placing tiles can get you a huge boost in points over everyone else who's playing the game with you. There are also post-game scoring conditions like any other Euro game would have. If you are able to complete a full row of 5, you get an additional 2 points. If you can complete a row of 7, you get an additional 7 points. And if you manage to get all of the colors for a specific tile, so like if you get 5 blues, 5 whites, or 5 reds, each one of those is worth 10 points at the end of the game. So if you manage to complete a full set of at least 2 of the colors, that's a whopping 20 points, which can really give you a competitive edge. And after all the scores have been tallied up, the person with the most points wins. So that's how you play Azul, and I'd like to go ahead and talk to you all about what a lot of the people who have been playing the game say they have liked about the game, because this game has been very well lauded by a lot of the people who come in on Sunday Family Fun Days. First off, this game is very quick to pick up and learn how to play. I know it sounded like I explained a whole lot there, but at the end of the day, all you're literally doing is taking a tile from a plate and putting it on your board and then scoring the points for it later. It can play in about 30 to 45 minutes. Also, it's very casual. There's not a whole lot of mechanics to it, like there's not a whole lot of drafting or social deduction or engine building. You're just drawing tiles and placing them. It's also very family friendly. I've had a lot of families who have come in and decided this is the game that they really wanted to learn how to play because they've already played stuff like Catan or Carcassonne and they wanted to try something a little new. Also, the game is very satisfying both visually and tactfully to play because you're always getting to look at these little pretty tiles that kind of remind me of poker chips, and you get to kind of pick them up and put them down where you need to. It's a very nice little satisfying aspect of the game. Also, it's a game that encourages abstract thinking, as stated before. If you can come up with oblique tile placements that everyone at the table isn't exactly sure what you're doing yet, and all of a sudden you place one tile down and it gets you like 10 or 11 points, and everyone at the table goes like, what? It feels really good, and it makes you feel really cool when you do that. So, those are a lot of the things that people have been saying that they've liked about the game, and I'm hoping I've gotten you interested enough to want to play the game. And if that's the case, I'd like to leave you guys with a few tips for how to actually win in a game of Azul. So first off, I would like to say, manage the first player token. Sure, every time you take it, you lose a point, but that's only like a point every round. At most, you're losing 4 points to have first pick every round of what tiles you'd like to get. And that can be a very big advantage to have in this game. Another thing to know is that incompleted rows will stay over between rounds. So let's say you didn't fill your 3 row up completely, you only did 1 or 2. Those will stick over to the next round, so it makes it easier for you to fill that row up next round. Another thing you're going to want to keep an eye on is looking at what's on the board, because every tile must be taken, and eventually people can be left with taking 5 tiles that they can't put in a row, and they end up dropping it down to the bottom row where they lose a bunch of points for doing that. So always keep an eye on what's getting drafted and what's left, so you can try to mitigate your chances of taking a bunch of excess tiles you can't place. Another thing, like I said, you're going to want to do is abstractly think about where you're going to place your tiles, because if you can place your tiles in creative ways, you can get a lot of points that will boost you up by the end of the game. Speaking of the end of the game, keep those end game bonuses in mind. If you're able to complete a row or a column and get 2 or 7 points, or if you're really good at the game, you get all 5 of the tiles in one colored place and you get an extra 10 points, those are quick ways to add up to your total point count, which can either put you in the lead or solidify a lead for you. And that's about everything I had to talk about for Azul. I talked about how fun of a game it is, how interestingly the abstract thinking pattern builder can lead to a very fun time for everyone at the table, and I talked about how you might be able to win the game. So all in all, you should give this game a try for some off-the-wall entertainment. And that's all I got to say about it. So until next time, drink more coffee and play more games.